Teacher Talking Sports, what it does, what it do, how we live. And let's continue with our NFL Mount Rushmore series by position. So in these, I attempt to name the four best players at each position. We finished up the offensive positions yesterday. Today we're going to start with the defensive position, starting with defensive end. So let me start by saying I thought about just making this edge rushers, including outside linebackers, but I'll probably do outside linebackers and middle linebackers separately. So this is just defensive end. So in these, attempt to name four best players at each position. So today, defensive ends as a subjective list. Let me know in the comments who you would include. Of course, this wasn't easy. I'll have a bunch of honorable mentions at the end. And the four players are not ranked. They are named in alphabetical order by last name. Let's get into it, starting with Deacon Jones. Deacon Jones was drafted in the 14th round, 186th overall in the 1961 NFL Draft. Played 14 seasons in the NFL, his first 11 with the Rams, playing in a total of 191 games. Now, sacks were not an official stat back in his day, but Pro Football Reference credits him for 173 and a half for his career. 2 seasons of 22, one of 21 and a half, two other seasons, so 5 in total where he led the NFL, and an additional 3, so 8 total where he reached double-digit sack totals. From 1964 to 1970, Jones was named the Pro Bowl, as well as 1972. Jones was a first-team All-Pro each year from 1965 to 1969. He finished as the runner-up for MVP in 1967 and 6th in voting in 1969. Part of the 75th and 100th anniversary all-time teams. His number 75 is retired by the Rams. Deacon Jones, the first member of the defensive end Mount Rushmore. Let's go to the guy furthest in the past, that being Gino Marchetti. Marchetti was drafted in the second round, 14th overall by the Dallas Texans in the 1952 NFL Draft. He played just 1 year for that Texans team, later became the Chiefs. And then 13 years for the Baltimore Colts, playing a total of 161 games. Now again, Marchetti sacks were not an official total during his time in the NFL. Pro Football Reference only list sack numbers from 1960 on. From 1960 to 1964, credits Marchetti for 56 sacks. I'm sure he had well more than that before sacks were credited. And 1960, he led the NFL with his 11 sacks. 4 of those 5 years had double-digit sack totals. But Marchetti was named to the Pro Bowl every season from 1954 to 1964, so 11 straight seasons. 6 straight seasons from 1957 to 1962 as a first-team All-Pro, as well as 1964. Marchetti played on 2 Baltimore Colts teams that won NFL championships pre-Super Bowl era in the 1958 and 1959 seasons. Just a legendary player, part of their NFL's 50th, 75th, 100th anniversary all-time teams. His number 89 is retired by the Indianapolis Colts. Gino Marchetti, the second member of the defensive end Mount Rushmore. Next, they weren't saying boo. They were saying Bruce. Bruce Smith, the first overall pick in the 1985 NFL Draft. First ballot Hall of Famer in 2009. Smith played his first 15 years with the Bills and his last 4 with Washington Redskins. All in all, played 279 games, recording 200 career sacks. So that is the most in NFL history. He also has the most seasons with the sack of 19 and most seasons with at least 10 sacks, 13. Those are all NFL records. His career high of 19 came in 1990. That season he won Defensive Player of the Year. In 1996 he did as well. He also had Defensive Player of the Year finishes of runner-up twice, third, fourth, 5th twice, and 7th. In 1990, he finished 4th in MVP voting. He forced 43 fumbles in his career. Helped guide the Bills to 4 straight Super Bowls in the 90s. Unfortunately, they lost all 4. But Bruce Smith also had 14 and a half career sacks in 20 playoff games. He was an 8-time first team All-Pro, named to 11 Pro Bowls, part of the 100th anniversary all-time team. His number 78 is retired by the Bills. Bruce Smith is the third member of the defensive end Mount Rushmore. And let's end with Reggie White, the 4th overall pick of the 1984 supplemental draft, inducted Hall of Fame first ballot in 2006. So White played 8 seasons for the Eagles, 6 seasons for the Packers, retired a year before coming back to play 1 season for the Panthers. All in all, his 198 sacks is just too shy of Bruce Smith's all-time record. He, in each of his first 9 seasons, had double-digit sack totals. That is an NFL record. Led the league in 1987 and 1988. 1987 had 21 sacks, named Defensive Player of the Year. His last season with the Packers, he was also named Defensive Player of the Year. So just an historic career, such a feared pass rusher. Rarely missed games. He had a total of 12 seasons where he played in all 16 games. In his 19 career playoff games, had 12 sacks. Actually started his career in the USFL, as he was drafted in 1984 and didn't join the NFL until the following year. But his number 92 is retired by both the Eagles and the Packers, part of the NFL 75th and 100th anniversary all-time teams. Reggie White, the 4th member of the defensive end Mount Rushmore. So again, alphabetical order by last name. We got Deacon Jones, Gino Marchetti, Bruce Smith, and Reggie White. As I mentioned, I'll have a bunch of honorable mentions, definitely some hard guys not to include. They include Julius Peppers, Richard Dent, J.J. Watt, Jason Taylor, Michael Strahan, Leroy Selman, Willie Davis, Andy Rubistelli, Chris Dolman, Carl Eller, and Jack Youngblood. And I'm sure there's a bunch more that I didn't even mention that definitely have a right to be at least an honorable mention. But there you have it, my defensive ends Mount Rushmore. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments. Tomorrow, we'll look at the interior defensive linemen, the defensive tackles, so stay tuned for that. Don't forget to subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to subscribe. Like the video, share the video, hit the bell for notifications. I'm out.